Minute is rated R. The Rocky Horror Picture Show is also rated R. We're going to spend this time discussing the movie in gory detail, and along the road we will talk about some adult content and use some of our favorite swear words.
Oh, Ozempic.
No fat chicks.
Consider yourselves warned.
Welcome to Rocky Horror Minute, the podcast where we discuss the Rocky Horror Picture Show in excruciating detail 1 minute at a time. I'm one of your hosts, Kelly.
And I'm your other host, Leandra.
And we have joining us again for perhaps the final minute, ? It is the beautiful and talented Flapjack, you know her from Camp Wannakiki, Miss Magic City Comedy Queen, top 5 finalist of National Miss Comedy Queen, co-host of the Flapping and Fawning podcast, and future owner of the Pink Lantern. It's Flapjack.
Hello, America. The magnet in my brain has gotten dislodged. It's buzzing. Normally, I can't be around podcasting equipment for this long, but for you two, I'm absolutely happy to be here.
We're talking about minute 89 today of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Yes.
Of the Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Yes. Sorry, what did you bring notes for? Yeah.
Not that.
Dunstan checks in. Yeah. All right, we're talking about minute 89 of Dunstan checks in. Leandra, take it away.
Great.
Well, you see, Dunstan.
left Dunstan.
Dunstan is an orangutan. Yeah. And he has been for the last 88 minutes.
This is Chimp Crazy.
I loved Chimp Crazy. We'll talk about that later.
Later in this minute or no?
I mean, do you want to get me started on Monkey Moms and Chimp Crazy right now?
Well, most of the audience members in this final floor show were Chimp Crazy people. I mean, they were monkey moms.
They were actually chimpanzees, yeah.
Yes, and in fact, some of the fur many of them were wearing were dead chimpanzees.
Yes, that's true.
And that's
one
fact.
Live one.
Only
one live one, and it was on its last legs.
Jesus Christ. I love educating people about film history.
Yes. So let's unpack that, shall we?
Okay.
Film history.
So, minute 89 of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Frankenfurter continues to walk down the aisle singing "I'm Going Home" 3 more times, ignoring the standing audience members begging for autographs. Stopping at the back of the aisle, he is lit from behind so you see this very iconic silhouette of messy wet hair and stringy feathers. The audience cheers, applauds, waves fans, and yells "Bravo!" And we see Columbia emotionally look on from the spotlight. We see Frank smiling, with his eyes closed, facing toward his adoring fans, as the cheers and applause from the audience dims and then fades. Magenta and Riff are behind Frank, and Magenta says, "How sentimental," knocking Frank out of his reverie. He turns back surprised to look at Magenta, and then looks back out again to a now empty auditorium. His fans were all imaginary. Wind whooshes in the background. Frank slowly turns to face Riff Raff and Magenta. Riff Raff lowers the laser to aim it at Frank and says, "And also." And I don't know what he's going to say. You're going to have to wait until the next minute.
Or are you?
Am I?
Yes.
This line. No. I have a note about this line, so I'm going to spoil it.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I guess I'll do that now. He's going to continue to say, "and also presumptuous of you." And the note I have is that I've always loved this line, "how sentimental and also presumptuous of you." So much so that, not to brag, but I was I guess technically still am probably a Something Awful forum member. I made my account when I was 18, which was not as recently as some of you might be thinking. So it was quite a while ago.
It was old enough.
Yep, just barely. And the Something Awful forums, if you did not know, were a huge part of the internet around the time that I was 18. And it was actually, you had to pay to have a forum account. It was like a one-time flat fee of $10, which sounds crazy, but let me tell you, it increased the quality of the forum measurably, because they were also pretty fascist about banning people who were annoying in any way. And so people tended to not make a lot of troll accounts because it cost them $10 every time. Anyway, You also had to pay $5 if you wanted to have an avatar and a little tagline, which I did at some point. And when I did, the tagline I chose was, "How sentimental and also presumptuous of you." And if in fact that account is still active, because I never like deactivated it, I guess that's still probably my little quote. So it's my personal connection to that quote.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I'm pretty
Wait,
awesome.
so the name was how sentimental and also presumptuous of you, or that was your
No.
tagline?
It was like and I won't say my screen name,
Oh.
but at least not on the air, but it was like under my little avatar, you were allowed to put like a little quote of
Oh.
some kind.
Oh, I see. So I'm on this page now, and this is like the Neopets chats that you could have. I think
Kind of.
that's
Yeah, there were forums on the Neopets site. I also have
yeah.
quite a bit of experience with Neopets, but that's for another day. That's for
Oh,
Neopets Minute.
Neopet minute. Okay.
Literally so much experience.
I think I'm starting to like this. Just a little peek into my sad internet beginnings. And while we're on the topic, it's a complicated thing, but rip 4chan, end of an era.
I don't think
Rip
I
in
knew that
peace.
4chan was gone.
It was raided, and basically a security issue was exploited to a devastating degree. They like doxed every admin and mod and also deleted everything, so it's very unlikely it will come back just in one day, just with no warning. It was basically just deleted off the internet.
Oh my God.
That's awful.
Yeah. And it's just kind of, I mean, 4chan was obviously a cesspool, but it also was so influential. It's just kind of crazy that it's gone, you know?
Well, it's wild how common events like that are starting to become right now.
Yeah.
I mean, are y'all familiar with poppers?
Yes.
I'm I'm sure
Not as
Yes.
familiar as Oscar, but I
I'm
know
sure
of them,
Oscar is
yes.
rolling in his grave. But or his hole is opening in
Uh,
his grave, one of the two.
Yeah,
But yeah, they raided the poppers facilities, and now it's really hard to get them. And I feel like it is such a
yeah,
direct attack on queer people. Not to get into all of that, but like
for sure.
no, get
I would
into
huff
it.
poppers at all of the Rocky Horror shows that I went to every single year, and it just was part of the experience. And now that it's gone, I don't know what else I'll do. I mean, I don't get a head rush like that unless I stand up out of my chair too quick.
Yeah, and I think poppers will persevere in some form, but it is unfortunate. And yeah, Oscar was about to make January 6th uh look like a joke. I mean, he was about to march on the Capitol if they took away his poppers, because there was some talk of
Yeah,
that. But
this is not my
um
double Scorpio.
when our theater recently closed, our because the theater where our Rocky cast performed, if you don't know, dear listeners, recently closed, and we went to a sister theater, which is wonderful, and we're very happy there. But we were all talking about ways to commemorate it, and because we would typically share a joint and or vape, some of us after each
Allegedly.
show out front. No, it's legal. So not allegedly, truly we did. But some of us. But yeah, it's legal, and we would share one, and one of our friends was like, "Oh, we have to have smoke one last J out front of the theater," and Oscar was like, "Yeah, and I'll bring the poppers," and I was like, "So we can just stand out front of the theater with our assholes gaping." I don't really understand
It's the
why we
way
would
he
take
mourns,
poppers.
okay?
I know. It's true. It's the way he mourns and the way he does anything else. So Oscar, if you can hear us wherever you are, I
Somewhere
hope
out
your
there.
asshole is wide open.
Hey, do
Anyway,
you think that's what the oil was that Magenta was talking about floating around in the air? Was it just popper juice?
oh my god. I mean, that would make a lot
I
of
hope
sense.
so.
As we said so long ago, uh Barry Bostwick appears to be on poppers during Damn It Janet. So, yeah.
But that was long ago.
Can we do 8 Crazy Nights minute next?
No, never. That film is awful.
It's a very bad film that Leandra and I quote a lot. Sorry to all the 8 Crazy Nights fans in the audience. Sorry to Adam Sandler, who I know is a big fan of the show.
Sorry to this man.
Yeah. But yeah. Leandra, what happens in this minute?
I've
wait, you already
already
said
said.
that. Leandra, say it
Kelly, are you
again.
on poppers?
I wish. And the thing that it would be more likely for me to be on, but I am not, is weed. But I should be. If I'm going to be this stupid, I may as well be high. But anyway.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of high, I know that I get a head rush every time that Frank has this money shot, when he's
Woohoo!
eclipsing the spotlight. I mean, Columbia deserves a pay raise for how well she placed that in conjunction to the camera. I love that moment when he like raises up his fabric, around him, and it drapes around so beautifully. But I I always think about the first time that I show people this film when this scene happens, because it always gets some kind of a reaction from a first timer, and it always just strikes me as in an interesting way that it does. But I remember when I was 18, my friend group watched this together, like for the first time. I of course forced them to watch while I yelled callbacks in my friend's garage. But as soon as he like lifts up the boa, I remember my friend clearly saying, "Bro, I'll give it to him. That's a good shot."
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Flap, talk me through how your cast does the kind of blocking for that bit, because our show, we don't have a center aisle for which the Frankenfurter can walk through. So he goes up the house left, stage right aisle to walk, quote unquote, through the audience. And I think that it loses a little bit of its impact, but unfortunately it can't be helped for us.
Well, I guess we could have our Frank just go through the center of the audience, just climbing over seats and laps and heads.
I feel
Yeah,
like
that sounds
Oscar
safe.
would, and
Oscar
he would
would. I
hurt
mean, we've seen
himself.
it on The Price is Right. But yeah, no, let's not.
I've seen this blocked a couple of different ways. So on my first cast, the Masquerade Ball, that was usually a much larger show. There were usually about 1,000 people there. So the stage was outside, and we had two staircases that you could enter on both sides. So when I played Frank on those, there just wasn't enough time to even get to the audience. So I would take the moment center stage, walk down, go around the front of the stage, waving at the audience, and then I would go right back up, and it was just enough time for me to end on the final "I'm going home." But for the hot dogs cast, it's a bit smaller of a theater. I think it seats 93 people, and we just have our Frank stay center stage. So there are some areas where they're able to step down and interact a little bit with the audience, but we've just found it's more powerful if they stay center stage, and we encourage the audience to stand there, and we have Riff and Magenta make their way down each aisle on either side, up until this moment.
Oh, that sounds neat.
Thank
I
you.
can't wait to come visit and see your show, because there are little intricacies between our blocking and yours that I think are going to make me want to steal things.
Yes,
Specifically from
please.
the show. I love going to other shows and going, and that's going in my pocket, and that's what we do now.
And
I've
I'll
got
just
to
steal things from your house.
Hey, that's okay. I've
It's
got too much junk. You can see how cluttered it is in my drag room where I'm filming. But well, I want to shout out Sidewalk Theater, Sidewalk Cinema, which is where we are our new home for the Rocky Horror Hot Dogs. I think it's perfectly intimate for the what we are looking for, and it also is this really cool independent theater, and so they're really game for any of the bullshit we want to put on. So I really appreciate them.
Oh, I love
They
that.
sound wonderful. I love independent theaters. We are very lucky to have a great working relationship with one of the few corporate theater chains that still likes Rocky Horror. But the real lifeblood of Rocky going forward, I think, is going to be those independent theater groups that have different cinemas. So
I also think that, Rocky Horror is such an active resistance right now in a time where it's really needed. I think that over the years, people have, at least in the South, lost seeing the importance of what it is this like important queer tradition. And I think now, as people start to see that some of those things are threatened to be taken away, we're going to see the value again of having these midnight showings of cult films like this. I mean, because the most common complaint that I get is, oh, well, it's just too late for me to make it out. But there's a reason that it started with midnight showings, right? And why queer people felt so comfortable in midnight
Mhm.
showings to begin with. So I like keeping that bit of history just for that exact reason.
And I
I
like
like
going to
that.
bed earlier.
Yeah. We just
Actually, I'm
recently
full of shit.
switched. Yeah.
Sorry, I was just gonna say I'm full of shit because like Leandra and I recently, my first show at our new theater and our new time, we got home after the show at a reasonable-ish hour and then stayed up way too late doing substances and watching
An American Tail,
cartoons. Yeah, mostly cartoons.
specifically an American Tail.
Yeah, an American Tail, a Simpsons episode, and then some Arrested Development. And so I still went to bed at like 5. So I guess really I just like being home
That sounds
at
healthy.
an earlier hour. Yeah, it was. It was
And
awesome.
to be fair, the reason that we watch an American Tail is anytime Kelly and I are doing substances together but separated by distance,
Mhm.
we look up at the same moon and
Yeah,
it's the
it's
same
beautiful.
moon. So it's the Somewhere Out There song, but for potheads.
Yeah.
Well,
But
thank you for sharing that with me.
it's
Yeah.
wonderful.
I thought it would be important for you to hear that. Yeah.
Um, but as far as I can tell, Somewhere Out There wasn't a song that was in this minute, but you know what
Oh, it was if
song
you listen hard. Yeah.
ended? But you know what song ended in this minute? I'm Going Home.
My dingling. Oh, yeah.
No.
So typically we we try and rate a song once it is over. I don't know if we wanted to do it this time though.
Yeah, let's just
What?
not.
No, I'd be so sad. Please.
Okay,
Now,
let's rate it.
out of 12, out of 10, like what do we want to do?
I think this time let's do it out of 5, just because Flapjack's here.
Oh,
Just make
okay.
it easy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And my 5 personalities would appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, for me, it's a 4 out of 5. I mean, it's not the first one I'm gonna want to play from the soundtrack, but I love it. It's such a
Mhm.
powerful moment, and yeah, absolute, very high 4 out of 5. Maybe even a 4.5 out of 5.
Ooh. Leandra?
4.5 is probably where I would put it too. It is, I think, probably my second favorite of the
Oh.
songs. Maybe. I don't know. It kind of depends on how I'm feeling, but this one
Mhm.
just it has a lot of really good acting moments. It's got a lot of emotion. It's very engaging to an audience. I think that it has much more going for it than perhaps Planet Schmanet. And
Oh,
Perhaps.
yes.
and for those reasons, I think a 4 is probably where I'd put that 4.5.
I'm gonna give it
No, a 4.
I'm gonna give it a 3.5 because I do like it. Um, I think it's very effective at conveying the moment. I think it has some lyrical issues, perhaps. Some of them I think are weaker than I would like them to be, but generally the song works in a way that some of the other songs in the show don't work as well, in my opinion. Um, Something I thought was interesting from the commentary was that Richard O'Brien confirmed that this song was not written for Rocky. And apparently
Really?
several of the songs in the movie were not, because we knew science fiction double feature weren't, and I recently erroneously, brashly claimed at AwesomeCon to our audience that science fiction double feature was probably the only song in the movie that was not written for Rocky. Not true. Apparently, he said several, and he said this one he wrote in 1971 when he was living in Fulham. And I guess because he was talking about how, and this is the story I had heard behind science fiction double feature as well. I read an article about it. He apparently used to like write songs like these and then just like go to cocktail parties and perform them. And he was like,
Wow.
people would be very bored watching me sing my songs. And Patricia Quinn was breaking her legs to get in there and say, they still are, but which was pretty funny. It was a very Kelly and Leandra, like she was like spluttering over him. They still are. But that was a very Kelly and Leandra moment. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting because science fiction double feature, I can see it making sense out of the context of the movie, and I guess this one as well, but I don't know. It would lose a lot of its power out of the context of the movie, I feel.
I think that
I
this
agree.
has I do too, and I guess comparing it to the Hedwig song that is most similar to this, I'd say is Midnight Radio. And Midnight Radio is a song that I will listen to outside of a listen to the soundtrack of Hedwig. So, as far as that goes, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, well, yeah, I agree that it's surprising that it was not written for the movie. I mean, it just it really it makes so much sense here. But I mean, I guess you can have any kind of song. Like if he was thinking like, oh, there needs to be some kind of ending where like the main character goes away, it can fit, I guess.
Yeah, I
But
mean, this is something that we see with shock treatment sometimes too. It sometimes feels like Richard O'Brien writes these movie plots around the songs that already existed. It's sort
mm,
of like it's a jukebox musical for his music, except for he was just not known before before the musical. But it's sort of the same structure where he's like, I have these songs. How can I write a story around them?
wow, not afraid
And
to
if you
Yeah.
self-reference. That's bold.
Mm-hmm.
and if you like when he does this now, you're gonna love when he does this for shock treatment.
Now, I think Leandra might be being sarcastic, but I will say, as I've said many times, that well, the music in Shock Treatment I like better than the music in Rocky, which I also love. But yeah, the plot in Shock Treatment needs an edit. So,
Hmm. I'm excited
Impossible.
to watch it and hopefully watch it with y'all at some point because I've seen it, but I think
yeah,
it's
I've
like
seen it.
Rocky. It's one of those things where you need to experience the full like immersive experience of it to appreciate it. So can't wait to hear y'all's thoughts on it.
Well, come through, we'll watch it. Those are my thoughts on the song.
Does anybody have any thoughts about this minute in particular?
Yeah.
I I have some about audience members, but I'm wanting to hear your backstory on them before I give my notes.
Okay.
So I'll before we get into that, I'll share another comment from the commentary about um the deck chairs, which is how Patricia Quinn referred to the chairs that the audience is sitting in. She said the deck chairs I thought were a great idea. Richard O'Brien agreed, nice thought. And then she said end of the pier, which I was like, oh, I guess that could be what they were going for, but I don't know because they look kind of like beach chairs, which I guess is what she meant. They were cool though.
Agreed. I hate them from a person who can't sit that low standpoint, but they are pretty.
Yeah, but all like it's not like you were in the movie. Were you?
As far as you know.
Yeah, exactly. I guess one of these older extras could have been you, but yeah, like I think they look cool. I wonder what the reasoning behind the choice was, or like what it was supposed to convey.
So the phrase she used was end of the pier.
Yes.
I find that so interesting. But well, there was one thing I was gonna comment on, but I didn't know if it was worth it. But
Mm.
I hadn't noticed before that when the song ends, there is like a reflection of light behind Frank on the railing, and it looks like water. And so I'm thinking like, okay, from a story point, that's probably just the pool water that's reflecting on the railing, right? But I wonder if that was intentional in a different way. You know, if end of the pier was really the theme that they were going for there.
Well, that's
Oh, I
interesting.
really like that. That's that's one of the better theories that we've heard on Rocky Horror Minute, and one that I can really get behind.
I mean, Patricia Quinn and Richard O'Brien were alluding to something like that. I'm so curious what they meant because he said nice thought. So something was meant by these chairs, but they were vague about what it was. So, Brian Thompson, if you want to hit us up, thank you.
Please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like that. You're alive.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have three that I want to talk about today, and these are the ones that I think have some of the more cult classic-y sorts of credits. So, first one is Ernest Blyth, or Ernest Blythe, depending on how that's pronounced, born in 1910 and died in 1981. He had a pretty exciting career as an extra in Hammer Studios horror films, and even has a fun little like IMDb style personal page on hammer-graveyard.org.uk. So he's he's popular enough with the Hammer Studios people that they wanted to call him out. It looks like, at least on IMDb, The Rock Horror Picture Show was his last movie, but he died in 1981. From what I can tell, he is the only extra also to have been featured in Doctor Who, which I think is neat. Not the same Doctor Who arc as Patricia Quinn, though, and he had 199 credits to his name. Next one is Aidan Harrington, born in 1928, died in 2017, was again one of those day players. He was in The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes' smarter brother with Jaime, who we talked about last minute. And he was also in The Shining as man sitting in a hotel lobby, which I think is neat. He was also in A Clockwork Orange and Village of the Damned. He was in 87 movies and shows, so compared to everybody else, practically nothing.
Yeah, but he made that 87 count.
He did. And
Were you ever an
then
extra in anything, Flapjack?
I'm so glad you asked. If you go to my IMDb page, you will see that I have been an extra in a few different things. But most of it was when I was in high school before I started doing drag. My first ever acting role, I was a zombie on this show that did not get picked up called Z Town, I think is what it was. And we filmed in an abandoned hospital. I got like 2 days off from school. I like gave my math teacher made me get like an excuse, like a class excuse to go film this TV show. And I was so young and twinky back then. Like I looked like a corpse anyway, so it was really easy. Um, and then from that, I got booked to be on a music video, and it was like it filmed in Tuscaloosa, at some old man's house, but it was like a funeral scene in the movie or in the music video. So I was an extra in that. I wish I could remember the song, but I have it somewhere. And
please
then of
be
course
the
I was
thong
on
song.
the thong song. Is there a funeral in the thong song?
No, but that makes it even better.
Yeah. Not unless you do it very wrong, yeah.
Very wrong. That's a wedge gone wrong. Uh, and then I was on Camp Wannakiki after that. That was my next film credit. So I got to be on season 4. I was an extra on the Christmas special for Camp Wannakiki, and then I was an extra and also a production assistant on season 6.
Oh my gosh.
That's wonderful.
And I apologize, Leandra, that I asked this question. I thought you were done with those, but I know you've been an extra in something.
Yeah, my first credit actually also was as a zombie. And yeah, it was for a yet to be released and probably never will be released film called Dead on Delmarva. And
I would love it if it just came out now after years in production hell.
yeah,
You get sued for violating your
that'd be
NDA.
wild. But it was super fun. Yeah, I did have to sign an NDA for that, but surely not anymore. That would matter. If not, okay,
That's the
come and
funniest
get me.
timeline.
Yeah. And then the other one, I was an extra in The Dark Knight Rises. I was in the football scene where the stadium blows up.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah.
Are you okay?
She was the terrorist.
No. But I did get a very bad sunburn on both of those shoots, actually. For The Dark Knight Rises, it was in the middle of August, but that scene is supposed to take place in the winter time, so they had us all in winter coats. And I was like, I'm gonna be like a little bit of a hoochie mama, and I had the winter coat on, but I was wearing something that had like a bit of a low cut neckline. And because of that, I had just this triangle of exposed skin that got so outrageously sunburned, and it was very painful, but funny. And then for the zombie film, for one of the days, they did a bunch of facial prosthetics on me to like rip my face off, and then covered me in just like copious amounts of fake blood, just like squirted all over my arms. And then they were like, all right, and we're gonna break for lunch. So they left me out in a field. And then after shooting was done for the day, I went back to the hotel room and I was washing the blood off. And I was like, why isn't this coming off? And I realized that the blood came off. What I was seeing was the bright red of my skin contrasted with the white of where the blood strips were, or stripes rather. So I had what can only be described as the world's jizziest, like, sunburn for 2 months.
That's
It was very
wild,
good.
Leandra.
I burn easily. I don't know what to say.
Yeah,
You're
I've got
white.
sensitive skin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you had worms?
No.
Do you want some?
No, I'm
Worms
trying to cut
spare.
back.
Worms, anyone? Okay.
I actually, talking about all this film history, there is this legendary film in Birmingham, and a lot of our Rocky Horror Hot Dogs Shadowcast members were in it, but it has not been released. And it was called Dyke Warriors from Planet Hell.
Oh my God.
And it is a cult classic that's just waiting to be received by the public. And I hope that, I mean, there's only bootleg versions that exist right now, but occasionally my friends who are in it will send me photos, and they're all in these crazy wigs and killing each other and fucking and stuff. So be on the lookout, everyone, for Dyke
Can I
Warriors
get a
from
copy of
Planet
that?
Hell. I'll see what I can do.
All right.
That'd
I
be so
love
fun.
collecting weird movies in my media collection.
And let's go ahead and get over to the final person, and you can just
Wait, Flapjack, what's your favorite food? I'm sorry.
No. Kelly.
Everybody, Leandra got engaged.
No, stop doing that.
Is it a lie?
I didn't just get engaged.
Well, that's not what I said.
That's So true, and I hate it so much. And why are you like this? So Victor Harrington was born in 1909 and died in 1980. I don't have any reason to believe that he's related to Aidan Harrington, who I just spoke about. Um, but I mean, probably. I don't see why not.
It
He
doesn't seem
was,
unlikely.
yeah. I mean, big if true. Yeah. I
Huge
guess
if true.
medium if true. Um, he was a monk in The Omen. So he was in The Omen with Juba Kennerly, who we discussed last minute, but in a different scene, of course, and was an extra in 319 films and shows, including Doctor Strangelove as a war room aide and a lizard in a woman's skin
Oh,
as
I
a
love that
barrister.
movie. That's an old Giallo movie, a crazy one.
Yeah, that's why I added it because I keep seeing it on your account and going, I need to watch this.
Yeah, I saw that. I actually saw that once at Splatterfest and once at the 24-hour horror marathon. These are two separate cult movie events that I go to every year at the lovely Colonial Theater, shout out in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. But anyway, yeah, that's a really good but crazy old Giallo movie. I recommend it.
Yeah, it looks wonderful and he's in it. So watch it.
Woo. Okay, well I already did twice, but maybe you should watch it.
Maybe. So those are all of the actors that I was able to identify who were in the floor show. If you know of any others, please let me know. You can send it to us at rockyhorrorminute@gmail.com. This is one of those things where I think that you could leave it in a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, but it would get very long. Um, but really just reach out, however delights you.
There's not much of a text limit on those things.
Oh,
Yeah,
then that's the right way.
the only way I
So
will
So
accept.
we don't know who this diva is with the sunglasses on.
the Phyllis Diller person, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. She so the thing that's so interesting to me about her in respect and like reflective of the rest of the audience is that she's the only person wearing sunglasses. And so I was wondering, why is she wearing sunglasses? Because I mean it's not really a normal thing to go to a theater show and put on sunglasses, right? Like it's like you're obstructing your view. So
Mhm.
like did she have an eye surgery, or was she just being too lazy to put on eyeshadow and wanted to cover it up like all the other drag queens in the audience?
Oh,
Or
amazing.
was she like I truly wonder if she put them on, if she had them and like the director just had them staring into that spotlight so much for that final scene, if she was just like,
Mm.
fuck this, let me put these sunglasses on my eyes. But anyways, I love her. I think she looks crazy.
She is amazing. She's the one that I will now immediately look at from this point forward as I rewatch this movie 4 million times. And yeah, I wish that I knew who she was.
Um, yeah, I was just about to make up some bullshit, but you know what? I won't.
That's very brave of you.
I thought
Yeah.
so.
Maybe she got a sponsorship from the Sunglass Hut and that's why she wore
Oh,
those.
so
That's
true.
nice.
Makes sense to me.
So my only I only have two notes, but one of them was like, how would we describe this Columbia moment where you see this close up of her next to the spotlight and she kind of tilts her head onto the spotlight? Like, I have opinions on what Columbia might be thinking, but they seem kind of convoluted. So, what is everybody else's thought?
I think she knows what's about to happen to Frank. And have you ever had that feeling of where you broke up with someone, but or they broke, or y'all broke up, and some piece of you kind of loves them forever? I think that's what Columbia is experiencing here. Like even though she is not Frank's gal anymore,
Mhm.
it's I think she is still sad for him because she had that connection with him once and knows he's coming to his demise.
That's very sweet.
Yeah. And I don't think she necessarily knows like he's about to get murderized. Or maybe, I mean, I don't know. I think the initial takeover declaration could be interpreted either way. And I
Mhm.
think we've established Columbia as an Earth girl. So with that in mind, it's kind of like could go either way. But she definitely, I think, is recognizing that he is deteriorating, as we've talked about. He's not in a good place. He's at least having his castle taken from him, or you know, or whatever it is that he is lord over there is about to be stripped from him. And it's a clearly sad moment, even without fully understanding what the plan is that Riff and Magenta are carrying out. And I
And
agree. I think she really cares about him. Like I that is supported by the songs and everything. Like some of the lyrics, like she she loved him, and what did it
yeah,
get her?
I'll tell
A
you.
big fat nothing.
Hmm.
So when I used to play Columbia, I used to kind of think of it in terms of her thinking, Frank is really just so beautiful and this is so tragic and sad, but he finally gets what it means to be a real boy and it's just too late. Like, just the tragedy of it all is what's overwhelming to her. I, but I like the way that you two put it a little bit more because mine was more of a, like, dear live journal sort of response.
I'm glad
Right?
you brought it up though, because it did strike me when I was watching this minute, that they chose to put that shot of her in there for a reason.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I also kind of wondered about what the purpose of that was.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool that and I think it makes sense that even regardless of how much she knows or doesn't know, like as we've already said, this is a Judy Garland moment. It's sad, diva down. So
It's very true. I love this.
mhm.
Really, it's only a
It's great.
3.5 for you.
It's not like the moment in the film. It's like the song on its own merit that I was
Okay,
rating. Yeah,
that's
because no,
fair.
this is an amazing climax to the film.
Okay, I can
Oh,
get behind that.
Like I would have, if I was rating based on like that section of the film in general, I would have rated Rose Tint My World much higher because I
That's
love the
mm.
true.
floor show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And my only other note is it's also kind of a fun joke, either intentional or not, that the only people who go to live theater are old rich white people. Like, that's kind of the ongoing struggle with live theater, at least in regards to membership. Membership is constantly people who are dying. So,
Yeah.
but those
Very
are all
true.
my
And
notes.
That's all I have before callbacks.
same.
All
Well, what
right,
callback you got?
callbacks.
Okay, so the ones that I've got when Magenta says, "How sentimental," you can just respond, "You heartless bitch!" And then there's also one that when, Frank turns and sees that all the theater patrons have disappeared from their chairs, you can say, "Ladies and gentlemen, all the surviving members of insert tragedy here. My personal favorite is the Titanic submersible, as opposed to some other tragedies that you could choose." So, yeah, I
The
enjoy
Great
that one.
Chicago Fire. The
Yes.
Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire. All right. um,
And
yeah.
then, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, nothing. Go on.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then lastly, this one jumps ahead a little bit, but I also really like when Riff says, "I referred only to Magenta and myself." You can respond, "Who the fuck's Magenta?"
And then a great one, which is really getting ahead, but you can say, It's magenta, like vagina, like Calvin Klein, kinda, if anyone remembers that classic Bloodhound Gang joint.
I like
But
it.
yeah, you ought to. The only one I can think of, at least for this minute, besides those, is when you see the empty audience. And this one, it's interesting. I guess this one is fully obsolete because it had been growing less relevant. But for those of you who don't recall, Donald Trump's first inauguration in 2017, he wanted a huge crowd, and that is not what was had. And then he was like, fake news, there were millions. So you can say, and now a scene from Donald Trump's inauguration as it pans over the empty audience. And then I've even had people respond to that saying, there were millions. And it's pretty funny. Now, I don't think you could really do that anymore because he's had a more recent inauguration that also was not well attended, but he wisely moved it indoors so that it wasn't as obvious. But anyway, in September 2023, I think, I went to the Villages, Florida, where my gay moms lived at the time, to go see a Rocky Horror tour. We saw our friend Larry Wiesel there. And we went and saw the show. And basically, due to a boring snafu, we ended up getting upgraded into the VIP balcony, which had like its own little lounge, and they swagged us some Barry Bostwick meet and greets for free. It was they screwed up with our tickets, so they did all that for us. It was really nice. Anyway, we went and met Barry Bostwick. We got signed stuff. I got him to sign my Janet purse. Some people in the party got him to sign various like things they had with them, or just photos. We went back up to our little private lounge, and basically the only people besides our party that were on the balcony were these two other ladies. And I was doing callbacks. Brad and I were both doing callbacks with Wild Abandon. A lot of them were getting good laughs. It was kind of just us, and then we were up in this balcony, and then down in the audience, I'll have to ask him if he remembers this. Larry was like down in the orchestra section on the other side, and it was like him and us holding up the callbacks. Like he was doing call and response with us from so far away sometimes, and we were really the only ones doing them. Anyway, it's a very conservative area down there, and definitely a conservative community in the Villages. I thought that the group that went to see Rocky Horror would be mostly less inclined that way, but it didn't really seem to be the case. So when we did our rare political callbacks, they weren't super well received. And yeah, when I said, and I think as you can see, the ones I do are pretty tame. So yeah, when I said now a scene from Donald Trump's inauguration, I got a like groan and some boos from the audience. And the ladies that were in the balcony with us said, "Hey, I like Trump." And we were like, okay, well, there weren't very many people at his inauguration. What? But anyway, so they went, "Hey, I like Trump." And we were like, "Oh, geez." As a
Well, you should
result,
have been at his inauguration, then we wouldn't be here.
they fucking stole our Barry Bostwick autographs on their way out. Yeah, because they were gone, and we had them like under some t-shirts of ours in the lounge, and the only people who had access to the lounge were us and them. And yeah, they just took our autographs, which were made out to us personally, so it's not like it was worth anything. And we were just like, what the hell? And we contacted and I assume it's because they were so pissed at us for making this callback. We contacted the venue, and they actually like reached out to them, and they sheepishly gave them back, which was crazy. I would have thought they threw them away. I was like, and why would you admit this? Amateur hour. But anyway, I'm glad they did give them back, but it was crazy. So there you go. We were retaliated upon for making a very tame anti-Trump callback, but that's all I have.
It's a good one though.
Oh, it is. It's fun. It always gets
it
laughed.
Is a good
I don't know. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't know if I haven't done it since he unfortunately was inaugurated again. I don't.
Yeah,
I
it doesn't
wonder if
quite
it
work.
would get a. I wonder if it would work now because he's been again inaugurated more recently, and it wasn't such a thing.
Fair.
I don't know. What do you think?
I I think that it's still a good one for where we do our show
That's fair.
because yeah,
It'll play
um,
well in the DC market.
yeah, mileage may vary elsewhere,
Yeah. Okay.
as we've determined.
Take us home,
So
Leandra.
da 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 da. No. Um, so I have a couple. When the audience is asking for autographs, you can go, "Can I have your hand cock?" Really, any cock. So that can be fun. And then there's a stupid one that I might cut that people used to do. It's how would you say hi to a Native American named Sentimental? And it's how sentimental. I don't know.
Oh,
The
Damn.
the 2000s were a stupid
it's not.
time.
It's not that offensive. I'm alright with that one.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah.
When you see Frankenfurter in silhouette, the the feathers kind of give this look that was very similar to the silhouette of the DC football team, the Washington Redskins. So in DC, we would go introducing the Washington Redskins. We don't really do that one anymore because that's not what they're called. They're called the Washington Commanders.
Commies,
And
the Washington Commies is their name. Yeah.
yeah, which
Yeah.
is good.
Short for communists.
So yeah, it's communism, not just a red herring.
Yeah.
And during the applause, as Kelly kind of referenced last minute, I go, boo, boo, bow down before her, the queen of slime, the queen of filth, the queen of putrescence. You could have had true love. And I think that's funny, and that's all that matters.
True.
And then the only other one, and this one's kind of like, it played a lot better at a different point in history, is look, we're at a Tiffany concert. I think we're alone now.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, if you didn't want to go with a tragedy, you can go with a song from 1987.
Great
Yeah.
choice. Yeah, good pick. That was
Yeah.
one of the first songs I ever performed.
It's a good
Oh.
song. I really like it.
It
But as
is.
far as callbacks go, like the audience doesn't really know who Tiffany is.
Yeah, that's the thing. I could not, gun to my head, could not have come up with the name of that artist.
Well, now you can.
That's true.
But otherwise, that's
Um,
all that I have.
yeah. Flap, could you just turn around so that I can baste the other side of you here?
Oh, it's actually pre-basted, but sure, I'll
Okay.
take it.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get an even coverage.
Oh,
You
thank
don't
you.
want to you don't want to tan like Leandra had that one time.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Fortunately,
Nothing
I
stripy
have
here.
had one before.
How are you in the woods?
Oh, well, I took a hike on Camp Wannakiki, so
Oh yeah.
I've been canonically in the woods for at least 3 years, so I'm pretty expert at it, I would say.
All right.
Oh,
Well,
good.
yeah, if you want to head out into the woods and pitch a tent and
One
maybe
of my
put an
favorite
apple in
activities.
your mouth. Yeah,
Oh,
no reason.
well, sure. I mean, I could absolutely do that. I mean, do y'all provide the tent and the apple, or is there a per
Yeah,
diem for
Yeah,
that?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're out there.
Oh, it's already there. Great. Oh,
Already there.
y'all are so prepared. Well,
Yeah,
this
there's
has been
like
wonderful.
there's a slender, dark-haired, fanged gentleman in a suit who will deliver it to you.
Oh, okay. Sounds like my first husband. Okay.
Okay.
Well, it was great talking with you all.
Yeah. I'm sure
Yeah.
that we'll have many other opportunities.
And now for your final
Now.
words, let's go with now.
Oh my
Now,
goodness.
you
Wait,
don't-
You don't have to go home.
Harry, unbutton your
She can't
pants.
stay. So get the fuck out.
To the late night double feature picture show.
Yeah. It would help if we did more podcasting and more yapping off the record, but anyway, you guys know what I'm
But the
trying
things
to
that
say.
are off the record is the best part.
It's true.
Yeah. If
And
you want
y'all
to
will
know
never
what we
know.
talk about off the record, you should really, I don't know, get to know us personally.
Yeah.
But even then,
it's
probably
true.
not. We're really only shady to a select 45 people.
Yeah, and I mean
46.
A
Yeah.
niche 45.
We do accept donations if you'd like to get into the inner circle. It's kind of like Scientology. But anyway,
Absolutely.